On today's episode of Beauty Behind the Brand, we're going to talk about expanding. When it's time to expand your beauty business, whether that's into a product line and/or expanding your services as well as your team. So let's dive into this episode and learn more about my takeaways I've had as well as experiences when owning a day spa. Our first question today is, what are the initial signs that indicate that your spa is ready to expand, and how can you jump on those opportunities? So there is so many things that I want to talk about during this episode, and the signs can be there, but we can also sometimes imagine those signs to be there. I feel like we all have this vision in our heads when we want to have that big location, we want to have multiple locations, we want to have a big team, we want to have a full clientele that has us booked 90% of the time or 100% of the time. We want to be able to afford all these fancy lasers and devices and all the things, when really we need to actually look at the details when it comes to our spa metrics. We want to dive into seeing what services are most popular, which ones we could actually hire someone for to specialize in those specific niches within your service list. You could also look at the price. Are we at the time where we are so booked up that we could actually start charging more per services because we've built up that clientele, and now it's time to start adding a little bit more value to back up our services. I feel like there is such this glamorous lifestyle around owning a spa. I shared a reel a little while ago on our spa page, and people thought it was hilarious how you just think owning a spa, you're walking in, getting free services all the time, life's good, there's no problems, when really I'm in there scrubbing the floors, I'm in there painting the walls, I'm in there doing bookkeeping after the girls have all left at 8:00 at night. Sundays I try to go in and do all the messages so things are good to go on the Monday when we reopen. There's a lot of things that I think we glamorize, I think because of social media too, and just this idea that we need to have the biggest and the best spa. We have finally kind of found this spot in our business, and it's taken 8 years for that to happen. Yes, the pandemic was about 2 years of that 8 years, so about 6 years of us fully in operations, but it takes time. I think people just think you wake up one day and you become the successful spa owner, you become this successful salon owner, but it all takes time. And I think really listening to your intuitions and having those goals, I always feel like having those visions and goals are so important on where you want to go and where you want to take your business, but don't have that that shiny object syndrome where you feel like you need to have the best of the best just because the neighboring spa has that has been in business for 12 years. It's going to break your bank. We're going to talk a little bit more about the financial side of it as well, but really make sure that you're able to afford these things before purchasing. That is also part of the expansion of your business. Making sure of hiring a team member. You really need to make sure that you can afford to have that team member. Same with the receptionist. We didn't have a receptionist for a very long time, and it is an expense to your business. I don't think people realize that from the outside world, but that receptionist isn't doing services to bring in money. Yes, it's freeing up time for your booking, clients calling, the flow of the spa, the cleaning, that type of thing. They are for sure, I always say, they're like the captain of the ship. They keep our ship afloat and keeps me afloat, to say the least. But I feel like it's one of those things where utilize the things you have now and really work in your business in the early stages. That's something that I feel like I've now had the privilege of stepping back from my business and learning more about the business side instead of being in the treatment rooms as much. But I know how to do all the services at our spa except for the medical stuff, like Botox and filler, obviously, because I'm not a nurse, but I sit in all the training. I sit in all the updates we have when it comes to devices. I'm on the phone with a lot of the companies to talk about the different devices and how they work for our clients. So that's what I want you to do too, is really work in each part of your business and figuring out what parts could use that expansion. Whether that could be a better booking system, or that could be a better service when it comes to lashes and brows, or you could work on figuring out different products to bring in to better your clientele's experience. But yeah, the biggest thing I think of in expansion and capitalizing on those signs is kind of utilizing every part of your business and seeing what would make the most sense. Regarding the next question, timing can greatly impact the success of scaling efforts. Could you share more insight on the factors of a spa owner when considering determining the right time to scale. Now, that's another thing very similar to what I just answered. Like, the timing is everything. And also the space. I feel like that's the other thing, where the space has to work for where you are in your spa business, whether that's your room rental or you're renting a chair as a salon, a stylist. It could be a hour by hour esthetician, your commission, all the different things. But then when you become the spa owner, when you're actually owning the facility or owning the studio, it's really one of those things where you've got to figure out where you have to put your money and the efforts of scaling and knowing the right time. Like, there's certain things, like obviously with the financial state of the world right now, there's a lot of things where we're like, okay, we need to put our money into savings. Also with like different things with the interest rates, like really knowing like when the right time is. I also noticed too in expansion, like we are really interested in like growing our location or staying where we are and then being able to expand within that building. And there's so many things that I keep thinking about, oh, that would be great. Oh, I could go and buy a building, or I could do this, I could do that. And I'm like, okay, right now isn't really the best time, the way that the financial world is right now with the interest rates. So let's just hold on a little bit and see what we can do in the space we already have. Sometimes bigger isn't always better. My dad has said this to me, I feel like every conversation of our entire lives, because it's not always bigger is better. Bigger isn't always going to make you more money. I think people have to realize that too. You can run a small little boutique spa and you could be making 6 figures a year, no problem. But you've got to know how to utilize that space to do the absolute max, whether that's having multiple chairs in a room, whether that's having a different employee breakdown, or having people renting when your spa is actually closed with the other hours you have with your employees, renting it out to different entrepreneurs. You could have events going on there, which also brings in some extra money on that downtime, and figuring out throughout the seasons, maybe expanding different services into those summer months, since your lasers and some of your medical facials aren't so popular. So really making sure you're utilizing every ounce of your location as well as your service menu, making sure that even with, I was saying this to the girls the other day, we were talking about the timing between services and the downtime for cleanup. So after a facial, for example, we allot about 15 minutes for that switchover. And I said, okay, let's try to get that down to 10 minutes for that switchover, because if we have, let's say 3 facials in a day, that's 15 minutes we could be saving to get another eyebrow wax in. Little things like that really, I think, are small differences, but can make a big difference with their tips as well as our overall flow of the spa. And our receptionist is amazing. She's able to jump in and help as well with the switchover and clients coming in and out. So little things like that, even though it might be a couple minutes you're saving in time, every minute counts, and every minute could be better in growing your business. So when it comes to timing of when you think is the best time to expand your business, you've really got to think of all of the things within it, whether that's time, money, your vision of where you want to take the business, as well as what your clients expect from you. I think that's another thing, is try to niche down. I just was listening to another podcast and they were talking about, don't be scared to niche down to one specific service. Like this other spa owner that they were interviewing, she is just a brow bar. She used to have a ton of different services, and she realized, you know what, with the amount of hours that are in a day and the amount of clients and waiting lists we have, and also the margin on the product, do you know what? Let's get out of doing nails, lashes. Let's just become a brow bar. And she said now she has built this extremely luxurious brow experience around just brows. And she said, it's something I love. It's something I'm passionate about, and I want to do it all day, every day. And that's where I think you've got to take your business to, is when you're looking at expanding, figuring out where you want to expand it. Also your team, it really depends on the timing of your team too. I always say there's stages of life that we're all going to go through. And I think it's one of the things where you've got to listen to your team and you've got to hire the right team. There is an episode that I had with Erin, and we were talking about how to hire and onboard a team member. And that's a great episode to listen to about expanding and onboarding them correctly. And then to be able to to scale that service and or that employee or team member as well. So that's another thing, is really determining, yes, the scale and how you're going to scale that with the clientele as well as the staff you have. We are in a very high turnover business. I feel like, I'm sure a lot of you listening can experience that too and have experienced it. I mean, like I said, ages and stages of life, as well as it's just a high turnover industry. And I try not to take it too personal, but obviously it is hard when you've created such a great connection with your staff, as well as the clients love them. And it's hard because you as the owner get the brunt of when they end up leaving. And it's really listening to who you want to hire next into that expanding of your business. That's something I've said a lot on the podcast, is we're kind of leaning into more of a medi spa, but it is awesome that we do have those manicure, pedicures, and gel services during the summer months that we're not as busy with our medical services. So having that fluctuation between a medi spa and just a regular day spa, but then looking at who we're going to hire into the stages of growth we're going into next. And really kind of, I always say, like, visualization is key, like visualizing what that person's going to be like, trying to figure out how you're going to actually onboard them and scale them the proper way. Like I said, the episode with Erin's great because we talk about like employee handbooks, how to set them up for success, which makes your life a lot easier too as a business owner and saves you a lot of time on training. So we'll link that episode below too, because it is about expanding and growing your business as well. The next question is, maintaining the quality of service is critical during expansion. What strategies or best practices do you recommend for spa owners to ensure consistency across multiple locations? So personally, I don't have multiple locations. We did have a pop-up in Port Carling, which is, I don't know, maybe half an hour from where we are now. And it was just a pop-up we had in summer because we are such a high tourist location here in Muskoka. That was kind of a hub we had. We had a lash tech there, and she was there a couple days a week. The only thing that we kind of noticed is if we were going to continue to have like kind of like a satellite location or something that's temporary throughout the year, was the rent, figuring out if it was, we were going to have to pay the rent throughout the year, or just like the 6 months that we would be there, or the 5 months. The other thing is the quality, making sure that, that person might be on their own, making sure the quality is the same across the board, whether they're at each location. And like I said, I can't really talk too much about this from my experience because we only did that for about a season. But it is something that does cross my mind of having like another location, but it's all the things. Like, you're going to have another receptionist. You're going to have to purchase a lot of the same things you already have. But in the positive way too, it's like, you've already done this once. You've already learned all the lessons from having your first location to then have your second. Another episode that I would highly recommend if you're looking at doing multiple locations or even like a franchise model is Alexi from Wax On. Her model is so brilliant because it's a wax and laser bar. She's really niched down into that, and she is uplifting other women in the beauty industry or anyone that really wants to get into a wax bar. She's able to make that onboarding experience really easy for them. That episode is great because it does talk about how some of the challenges actually she went through, where she had purchased a location and then realized, okay, I purchased one too many locations too quickly, when she couldn't give them enough time within the onboarding of that current location. But that episode, once again, we'll link that one below too, if you are looking to create a second location. Like I said, I have considered it. We kind of did that hybrid model for a season, but I just feel like I'm so busy already with Muskoka Beauty, with our product line, and then with our brick and mortar location. And we are in a very small town here in Bracebridge. So I feel like if I were to create another one, I would have to create it maybe in another town, a town like quite a distance away. But we do have a lot of people that come quite a distance to come to our current location, which is amazing because it saves me from having to open up that other location somewhere else. But yes, this episode of Lexi, it is a must listen if you are looking to open up a second location, and or if you ever look into owning a wax bar or a laser bar. She is your gal. She's amazing.
Are you like me and every other entrepreneur on this planet, trying to make things as simple and easy as possible, even when it comes to your health? Goli apple cider vinegar gummies can help. Use promo code Nick Manion at checkout for 10% off your order. For those looking for a different take on apple cider vinegar, Goli apple cider vinegar gummies contain all the old school benefits of traditional apple cider vinegar in an easy take gummy form. Their products are vegan, gluten-free, non-GMO, and gelatin-free. Taste the apple, not so much the vinegar. 2 gummies contain 1 apple cider vinegar shot. Now, don't forget to use promo code Nick Manion at checkout for 10% off.
So regarding finances, financial planning is a key aspect of scaling. Do you provide advice on how spa owners can ensure necessary resources and funds for a successful expansion? So kind of back to our first question, it is one of those things where you've really got to figure out what your goals are, how much money you're going to pull out yourself as if you're a solo entrepreneur, if you're a sole proprietor, if you're incorporated. That's something that I feel like I didn't really do, and I could have been better with that, is actually pulling a salary for myself. I've always just put all my finances back into my business because my mind is about growth. I want those businesses to grow, and I am a very minimal person. Like I've said before, I probably drive the oldest car in my parking lot at work. I'm very minimal when it comes to a lot of things in life. And when it comes to my business, that's my baby. I want to put all my energy into it, as well as my finances, to watch it grow and flourish. So my strategy might be a little bit different than someone else who obviously has like kids and needs like a little bit more finances in the personal life that way. But it's like, actually, when I was looking to save for a home, that was more when I was figuring out like my personal aspect and finances. But then COVID happened, and it was really tricky on kind of rebooting that, because I was really back into, okay, I got to start putting money back into the business to make it grow and to recover after COVID. So when it comes to planning and all the different things that you want to look into of kind of that success of expanding your business, I always look at, okay, where, if I put this much money into this, what is my return going to be? I laugh because Asha and I at Luma Farm always have these conversations of looking at certain devices. Okay, so if I bring in this device, let's talk about the hydrobrasion, for example, that we have at our location. I looked at that device, and I looked at HydraFacial, and I looked at a few other ones that were on the market. And I looked at how much it was going to cost me to provide these services for basically the exact same thing, and what my clientele was going to be able to afford, as well as my technicians. What are something that they would enjoy doing? What is the add-on services you could do? So I look at bringing in the hydrobrasion, for example, and I look at how much that's going to cost. And then I break down, okay, so how many facials do I need to do to pay this off? Then with that amount, I say, okay, so I can do however many facials. Let's say it's 100 for easy math. So I'm going to do 100 facials. Then with that 100 facials, how much is it costing me per facial? Okay, let's say it's going to cost me $20. So it's going to be $80 as my profit from that facial. Then I'm going to say, okay, how much is it to pay one of my employees to be able to operate this service? Okay, it's going to be another $20. Okay, so now this service is costing me $60 to operate. Okay, so now let's do the math again. Let's do 60. How many facials do I need to do at $60? That's almost half, really, when you think about it. Plus, like, when you think about your taxes and everything on top of your employees, and also some of the extra things you would need during your facial, that might be add-ons. Even if a client needs that consultation time, a little bit of extra time tacked onto that service, which is going to cost you money too. So really, it's going to cost you $50 when we started at that $10. So then you're going to say, okay, wow, I actually need to do 200 facials now to be able to pay this hydrobrasion facial machine off. That's not accurate math when it comes to how much the machine costs or anything, but I just thought for easy math purposes, it's something you've really got to think about expanding. I even looked at our spray tan booth, for example, how much that machine was. It was an investment, and how much plumbing we had to do, the install, contractors coming in, plumbers, like I said, and then having it installed, as well as having each cartridge of the spray tan, the add-ons, as well as the like sticky feet, the hairnets, all of the things that go into that service when you're going to be charging someone $50 a spray tan. Plus, if they were going to have add-ons or any of that, then our receptionist, we're really fortunate, our receptionist is able to do that service for everyone. It takes about, like I said, we usually allot about 15 minutes. People are in there for only 3 minutes. So they're in and out. But then I was like, oh God, how many spray tans do I need to do to pay this machine off? We actually just, I think it was last week or the week before, just did enough spray tans to pay that off. We also had a little bit of flex in our numbers because we had it where for our staff as well as people that we did giveaways for. So I allowed a little bit of flex within our fluctuation with the numbers to have an accurate number of how many people we've put through that were paid versus like myself that goes in pretty much every week, or our staff. So that was really rewarding because we were at pretty much our 1 year, almost at our 1 year mark. And that was my goal, was to have that thing paid off. I paid it out right at the beginning, but I wanted to make sure that we had paid it back within a year, and we did. And it's hard to believe. I look at the scale and the numbers on that thing, and I think we're at 750 spray tans now, and it just blows my mind. We had a guy come in to do just a maintenance check on it. We try to do it often just because it's like a car, right? You want to make sure you're taking good care of your machines. And he was blown away from being in a small community, in a small town, how many spray tans we have put through that thing and taking care of it. That's the other thing. When you go to expand and you want to grow, and that, yes, the finances and the success of your business, you want to take care of these machines. You want to make sure you know how to troubleshoot if there was something wrong. Because if you're in a hydrofacial and something goes wrong with your machine, you got to learn how to fix that thing because you're going to have lost revenue. So really making sure you're really close with those maintenance people who are able to help you. Customer service is good. When it comes to looking at bringing in services as well as devices, really make sure that those companies have really incredible customer service. I look at that with SharpLight, for example, too. If we are down and out with a laser, they're going to have our next laser there within the next day, delivered, operating, ready to go. Same with Cajilio. That's another episode I would highly recommend if you're looking for a new software company for online booking, as well as loyalty programs, referrals. That's another great way for packages too with your business, being able to put those packages together. Something really easy to know your numbers, know your metrics. I feel like I've learned a lot of that through Erin on our podcast as well. She's always talking about the numbers, and making sure you're looking at your analytics, even on social media, what's trending, which ones you see people are using, for reels. For example, our hydrobrasion, when we brought that in, I was sending out constantly reels of anything and everything with hydrobrasion, whether it was educational, entertainment, behind the scenes of people getting facials done. We even did a influencer collab to make sure we've got lots of videos, and then they were sharing them as well. So when it comes to expanding, you've really got to kind of make a roadmap of how you want to expand. There is so many things within spa and beauty where you could expand, like we did even with our product line. That's another thing, is I see a big trend right now with private label, for example. Private label is a lot easier than what we did. We ended up going into our own formulations, but private label is something that I see a lot of other facial companies, for example, skincare, spas, wanting to bring in their own products. It is a lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of regulations. So start with maybe 3 products to start with. And that's a good way to expand as well, keeping kind of clients loyal to your brand in more ways than one. But yes, financially, you really got to make sure that you can afford things before purchasing them. Like I said at the beginning, that shiny object syndrome, I definitely do have that when it comes to the spa. Because there's so many exciting things. That's what I love about the industry, is there's always new things coming out. So many exciting new, like, I can't get over the devices in the past few years that have come out as well, even at the ESI show. Just the amount of devices that are going to these shows too. It's hard to pick which ones, but really look at when it comes to even their returns, the customer service, their sales team. Are they just going to leave you in the dust after you've cut them that check for the products or device? Also, same with when it comes to insurance. Make sure you have proper insurance and that company's backing you too if something were to happen. Same with warranty. That's another thing is I listened to a really great podcast. They were talking about that with warranty with devices and lasers, and making sure that you are very transparent with them with the warranty. You can negotiate too. And making sure that you're getting multiple quotes. And there's no such thing as a stupid question. That's something else that I've talked to Asha about is I'm like, sorry, I'm bugging you so much about all these questions. She's like, you're spending money with us. Like, we want to make sure that you have the answers you want and you're making the right decision for your business. And that's why I love those ladies at Luma Farm, because they're just honest and they're not like those like sales. They're really there to help you and expand your business. But yeah, it's not just you as the business owner. It's the sales team you're working with behind the scenes when it comes to your devices. It's your spa, the employees, the contract directors, anybody that's involved in your business, as well as just having those conversations with yourself. Like, okay, what are my goals? What are my financial goals? And looking at your profit and loss. I look at mine probably, I would almost say a couple times a month now, just because we have purchased some devices and I want to make sure that the money is coming in to pay off these devices per month, and the growth from bringing those in are transparent to what our sales should be. Especially with like laser hair removal as well as IPL. I really want to make sure, yes, I spent a good chunk of money on that machine. Now let's make sure we're getting the return and how quick we can get that return to get that paid off. That's another thing is it's hard to, once again, with interest rates and all that stuff, is figuring out, okay, it cost me this much, but what is my interest going to be if I don't pay it off in this amount of time, or how long your payments will be going out for. My goal in life, I feel like with everything, is try to pay off everything as fast as possible. It made sense for us now that we're incorporated to actually do payments with the laser machine versus paying it all out at once. So really even talk to your bookkeeper and your accountant about what makes sense when purchasing some of these bigger devices. We had an episode with my bookkeeper, actually, Leanne. She's, oh my gosh, I feel like she's the reason why I'm still in business. She's amazing. And she just talks about that. Yeah, really looking at your finances and making sure it's something you can afford. Some devices we looked into as well as we could have actually rented versus purchasing. But then at the grand scheme of things, I'm like, you know what? I think it makes more sense for us to purchase at this time for tax purposes, as well as just having the machine there all the time. SharpLight was amazing to work with. So there's so many pros and cons when it comes to the finances, as well as what you need to make as the owner. So like I said, we just incorporated the spa. I'll be finally pulling a salary early next year. And it's my first time ever to actually have like my own money. I don't even know what I'm going to do with it, but I'm going to just save. So then hopefully when the time comes of when we want to expand or purchase another building or purchase a building, I'm able to hopefully be able to do that or scale the business. I feel like it's one of the things too when you look at your ages and stages in your life. For me, like we are getting married next year, and then with kids and things in the future, I want to make sure I'm not getting a mat leave. A lot of you listening probably don't get a mat leave either, being a spa owner, to making sure that you're going to have those finances to back you up at the end of the day. As a busy entrepreneur, I know how important nutrition is for my brain health. I know how I need to be on all the time, as well as my energy levels. Now, a lot of my energy also comes from my healthy gut, which is my nutrition and food. Now, Goodfood, if you haven't heard of it, it's definitely a good idea. If you put in promo code Nicole 3X2, you will get 40% off or more on your first order. Now, I'm just warning you, it's a little addicting. I definitely get it every single week, and it has changed the way I am in the kitchen, as well as my productivity and time management. No more going to the grocery store. I barely have to go. The only time I have to go is for the essentials like coffee creamer, coffee, or any of those type of little miscellaneous things I might need around the kitchen. But once again, we will put the show notes below for you to get your promo code through Nicole3X2. Happy shopping, everyone. And having those conversations with yourself of thinking, I do this a lot of, okay, how many eyebrow waxes do I need to be able to pay this off? Or how many, when I go to purchase something out in like my personal life, okay, what do I need to do to be able to afford this? It kind of just puts things in a perspective a little bit more. So that's our financial summary. I hope that all made sense. And if you have more questions about any of the breakdown I was saying about the services, to the breakdown to be able to know what each service is costing you, I cannot stress that enough, of figuring out all the services you offer and then figuring out what each service is costing you, as well as what you're actually making off those services. There were some services I was like, wow, we're not even making anything on this, so what's the point of having it anymore? So it really makes it, because you only have so many hours in a day, so many minutes in a day, and you only have so much staff. Especially if you're a solo entrepreneur, you really got to make sure you're utilizing your time efficiently and kind of doing that breakdown, because you might think, oh, this service is actually making me good money. And then you do the math and it's not. So look at your finances, really deep dive into them. Talk to your bookkeeper, accountant. There's a lot of things that I think as estheticians, we're more of that creative mindset. As well as we didn't really learn any of that in aesthetic school. And I feel like we took, I know my business section within aesthetic school was like a week, but I don't think we touched on any of the number side of it. So make sure you're looking at your finances. Can't stress that enough, because we are not running a charity, people. We are running a business, right? Right. So our last question today is, one challenge in scaling is retaining the quality and culture of the spa. How can a spa owner provide their brand's identity while adapting to new locations or larger scale? That's a great question. It's like probably one of the hardest things to do in any business, not even a beauty business, is scaling and retaining everything, especially quality. That's why I feel like my dad always said bigger isn't always better when it comes to business, because I feel like it's one of the things where you might have 10 people, and how many of those people are actually bringing your business what it needs? I feel like there was a crazy stat about like something about if you had 100 staff, how many of those staff are actually like doing the quality of work you need? That's another thing we talked about on the episode with Erin, is if someone is not pulling their weight or showing the quality of product or quality of service, they're just not that kind of A player, they're going to actually bring your team down. They're going to be like, oh, well, that person's doing the minimal amount of work. Okay, well, I can now play at that level because they're not getting in trouble or raising an eyebrow at what they're doing. So the number one thing is, when it comes to hiring, setting them up for success, making sure you have those handbooks in place. You're really transparent on that. I've done that personally, where I've hired people really quick. Things have happened. The onboarding process isn't there. And then I'm having to have all these extra conversations with them and explaining things more time, which has caused a waste of time / money, loss of clients. And I take blame for that, because I did not set them up for success. And then I look at people where I was really, I don't want to say hand-holding, but I was really taking care of them throughout the process of hiring, and they were rock stars right off the get-go. So when it comes to scaling, and as well as a culture, I feel like that's another thing, is you as a business owner, they're going to be like, wow, she loves her business. She's really taken the time to train me. I feel confident in what I'm doing as the employee or the staff member at this location. I know what the morals and the mission of this business is, because I'm being trained by the owner or manager, as well as just getting them to learn all the different parts of the business. A lot of my staff are able to work reception, for example. If the receptionist is away or she's left for the rest of the day, our staff are able to check their clients out. The other thing is if clients have questions about gift cards or something about the discount codes or something, our staff are able to answer that, whether they're receptionists or not, as well as just their confidence. The culture, I feel like, is something that I absolutely love owning a spa. And some of the most feedback we get is how the spa makes them feel, the openness, the kindness, just we just want to make them feel at home. We want them to feel comfortable coming in, anyone and everyone. And I feel like that's something that we take pride in, whether you're someone working at the spa and or a client with us. We really want to make sure everyone feels amazing. And when it comes to actually scaling and growing the business, that's really the only way you're going to be able to do that. You've got to have a great team, because that, to be honest, I don't know what I would do without my team. It's something that I just think of them as our extended family at this point. It's so exciting to have all these different things going on in their lives and being able to have clients that they may know or new clients coming in and hearing from them. I always say that with the girls is asking clients, oh, what are some of the services they would like us to offer, or educating them on maybe why this facial might be best for them, or maybe a different package that we would recommend with the pro cell, micro channeling. There's just so many things that I think as estheticians, we need to remember we're the expert in sharing those things with our clients. And that is going to help expand your menu as well as your offering with your staff, as well as bringing exciting things in. I always felt like working at the same place day in and day out, your boss or employee didn't share with you the mission of the business. I feel like that's part of my manifesting is I tell my staff, okay, my goals are this, and this, and we are going to try to do this, and this, and I need your help and how we're going to get there. As well as giving them some guidance. Like, I know we were just talking about like lasers and having someone that they can go to that knows that laser inside and out. I personally don't have, well, I have some laser experience, but I don't have as much as some of the other girls. So giving them those titles, and giving them that opportunity to be able to grow within your business. Because personally, I'm one of those people, I like personal growth. I like business growth, and how looking at your business, people want to book appointments with me. And I'm like, I'm not the go-to facial lady. Like, you're going to want to book with one of my staff, because I am proud to say they know these services more than I do. They're the experts in this. And when it comes to consultations and booking appointments, that is something I feel honored, and I'm proud to say that these girls know more about aesthetics than I do. Yes, I might know more about the business side, but they're the professionals in the rooms. They're the ones I ask questions or follow-up questions if clients come to me on Instagram as well as email. And I think that makes them feel good as well. So building up your team is also part of your expansion, and that quality of just excitement about coming to work every day and seeing where the business is going to go, and not knowing you're working this dead end job, like 9 to 5 every day. And that's something I feel like the expansion of our business and people wanting to work for us has grown so much, and in the quality of people that come on board as well. And yeah, just make sure you put that out there and make sure your team knows your visions and they get excited, because if they're part of your team, they're going to want to do it with you. And that's the whole part of expansion, is making sure you're expanding your networks with people, making sure you're growing your service list, make sure, or even not, like I said, you could be niching down into one specific service as well. So there's just so many takeaways. This whole idea of recording this podcast just came to mind after listening to a few other podcasts as well as Instagram posts that came up. And I just wanted to share all these things with you about growing and expanding your business, because I know I personally was looking for some of these answers when I was a solo esthetician. And then I was like, okay, when am I going to start hiring my first employee? And that's where it starts becoming real, when you know you're responsible for someone else. So yeah, fire some questions in our DMs on Instagram. You can email us, reach out anytime if you have questions, or even if you want us to record a specific podcast around a certain topic, we are more than happy to. So thanks so much for listening, and have a great day.